Butterbeer.
Hi, I'm Brian.
I'm Derica, and today we're doing our version of a Tudor-style butterbeer.
Can you tell she's excited about this one?
I am excited because I am a big, giant nerd. 1, I love Harry Potter. 2, I love Tudor-style architecture, which has nothing to do with butterbeer. But
Yeah.
every time I say Tudor-style butterbeer, I think of Tudor-style architecture, and it makes me happy.
I don't. I think of a very specific scene in Harry Potter where what's-her-face got drunk.
Hermione.
Yeah, that's it. Can you tell who's the big dork?
Here's to Hermione and butterbeer.
All right. To make this butterbeer, first you need beer. Now, today we're using my brown ale. This isn't exactly the same recipe as the brown ale that I made in a previous video. However, that one is probably a slightly more appropriate beer than this one. This one's actually more of a porter. It's a little darker. So you need that. 12 ounces is all you really need. You can do it with 16. Doesn't matter. You need 1 egg. Doesn't have to be from your own chickens. I'll forgive you.
Ours just happens to be.
Yeah. Cloves. Now, you can grind your own, whatever you want. I'm using ground cloves. It's just easy. Ginger. You can use fresh ground ginger. I think it'll make a mess, and I think it'll be more mouthfeel than I really want.
Brian has a strong, and I mean strong, aversion to little bits in his beverages. So we went with ground ginger.
I had a bad experience. Let's just leave it at that. So anyway, ground ginger, and then ground nutmeg. Now this I am going to actually ground myself. You also need about 15 grams of butter. Now that's going to vary. If you use more beer, you want more butter. It's called butterbeer, after all, not beer butter. Think about that. I found recipes that called for very little butter, and I thought that was not nearly enough. I want more than that. Also, 50 grams of sugar. If I had to guess, that's about 2 tablespoons. Some of this is to taste, but the technique remains the same. Experiment with it, see what you like, okay?
We've seen other recipes that called for egg yolks only.
Yep.
We hate doing the egg yolk or egg white only in any recipe, unless we have an immediate use for the other part, because we're lazy and it's wasteful. And
essentially, this is a semi-custard, okay? And in a lot of custard recipes, you'll see egg yolks only. You'll see whole eggs and then so many egg yolks and stuff like that. The reason is because egg whites aren't necessarily so helpful in a custard, and the yolks make it richer. So if you wanted to just add egg yolks instead of egg whites too, go for it. I'm not going to hold it against you.
The key to this recipe, in not only dealing with the egg, but in trying to retain some of the alcohol from the beer, is to watch your temperature.
Oh, yeah.
We are basically just warming this.
Get your thermometer out. If you don't have one, there's links in the description. Sorry, had to do it. That was just a good time for it. All right, so I'm using nutmeg, whole nutmeg. If you buy this stuff in the jar, I'm afraid that you might have more sawdust than nutmeg. Especially if it's been in there for a couple of years, you know, probably not so good. Anyway.
Nutmeg is one of the spices that we pretty much don't skimp on. We always use whole nutmeg. We have a microplaner specifically just to grind our own nutmeg.
More or less, yeah.
It makes a really fine powder, so we don't have the residual particles that make Brian get kind of angsty.
Now you're going to ask me how much nutmeg. 1/8 of a teaspoon, maybe a touch more than that. It's just it's difficult to, it's not much. That much!
That much.
I don't need that anymore.
Sorry.
Ginger, same amount, okay? I'm just going to put some in. I'm doing this by eye. If you're not good at doing this kind of thing by eye, measure. 1/8 of a teaspoon. Cloves especially. They will overtake stuff in a heartbeat, so I'm still putting the same amount in as the others, but I'm being very careful about it. And you can already smell it. It already smells really, really nice.
And granted, we can already smell it because I am actually drinking our tester mug of Butterbeer.
And that's why I can say put in 15 grams of butter, because that one had 10.
We're not cheating. This is actually Butterbeer that we just made.
Yeah, I normally will try a recipe or come up with a concept and do it right on camera. This one I thought needed a little bit of practice first. I mean, it's very much like a buttered rum or something like that. It's similar, but it's not exactly the same because it's beer. Okay, now, I know this is like heavily fizzed, so I'm going to have to do this quick. Oh yeah, didn't spill anything this time.
This beer is super yummy all by itself, and even though we already did a brown ale
I think I may
recipe,
have to do this one again.
I think we're going to do this one again because one of the exciting components of this particular brown ale is that it was very similar in texture and everything to Guinness. And we know a lot of you have requested a Guinness clone, so we might...
essentially is a Guinness clone.
We might share that recipe with you just for that aspect alone.
Now, being that this is the little burner that couldn't, and high on this is probably more like medium-low on others, I'm putting this to 5.5 out of 9, just to be on the safe side. What you want to do is keep an eye on this. Notice I have everything in here but the sugar and the egg, okay? You do not want this to go above roughly 170 degrees. Now, what we're doing right now is just warming it, okay? Because over here, I'm going to take our egg. Actually, I put in everything but the butter, the egg, and the sugar. Don't put the butter in yet.
The butter is actually the last thing you're going to add.
Yes. Put in my egg. Hopefully. Fresh eggs. Always fun. And scoop out the little bit that's in here. You paid for it. Okay, so I have my eggs and my sugar in here, and I'm just going to beat them together. I'm introducing air, I'm denaturing proteins. Basically, I want to make the eggs lighten in color and become kind of like that. So a little thick, maybe. And what Derica is doing over here is she is monitoring this to make sure that the temperature doesn't go too high. I said earlier 170 degrees. Let me back up a little bit and explain. What we want to do is heat this to about 110 or so. Add the eggs in, then bring it slowly up to about 170. See, right now we're a little high. We're at like 125. I'm going to risk it. We're going to do it. Because the mixture is already warm, I'm going to put it on the table, and then I'm going to slowly add in our egg mixture. Okay? The idea is you don't want to just make scrambled eggs in a pot of beer, because that's just weird. Nobody would like that. And you just whisk it in. Whisk it right in. I can speak. And just make sure you get everything out. And then we put this back on the heat. Now this is where it starts to get important. I put it to about 4 to 5 again. We had it down really, really low because it was getting too warm. And I'm just going to keep monitoring that. We don't want it to go past about 175 Fahrenheit, which is like 80 Celsius. And it's just starting to go up. It'll take a little while. Keep stirring it. Don't let it just sit because it'll burn. And if you see solid eggs forming, you probably cooked your eggs. You might be able to strain them out and drink the beer anyway, but that's just pushing it. It sounds gross. Alright, we're at 161. Okay, so now it's at about 160 degrees, so I'm going to turn that temperature down quite a bit. And what you want to do is just keep it there for a few minutes, and what will start to happen is the custard reaction. The eggs will start to thicken up just a little bit, and I just keep hitting the thermometer with this. The trick here is to not let it go past about 175, because that could be bad. If it gets too warm, take it off the heat. Like right now we're at 173. We're getting there. 175. All right, it's coming off the heat. Don't get me wrong, this is still warm. And I'm just stirring it. I can see that it's thickening a little bit at this point. Remember that butter? Mm-hmm. I said it was good. I never said it was healthy. Put that in, and I'm just going to mix it through so it melts. becomes one with the butterbeer. Up until this point, it was just hot beer. Now it's butterbeer. Am I wrong?
Do we need this anymore?
I don't think we need the thermometer anymore.
Okay.
It has done its duty. I'm just mixing this until the butter melts. And then what I'm going to start doing is frothing it. Just really quickly doing that. You got to make the face too.
If you have a milk frother, you could totally do that. If you want to put a nice big honkin' dollop of whipped cream on top of that, go for it.
Yeah, whipped cream sounds good.
You could sprinkle it with some more nutmegs, make it pretty. Basically, make it your own. Make it decadent.
This is a to taste kind of thing.
Beer with
to taste.
Butter and spices. It is decadent.
Yeah. Alright. We can shut that guy off and just move it over there because it's hot. Get out my mug. And now, the moment of truth. The moment that everybody watches our videos for to see, does Brian spill it all over the place? It kind of looks like coffee. It really does. Like if you put cream in coffee, it really does. But it sure don't smell like coffee. This is one of those moments I wish we had the overhead camera. Did you drink all yours?
No, I'm still drinking.
Alright. Let me give this a taste.
It's gonna be hot.
Yeah. Oh, this one's even better than that one. Just that little bit of extra butter really did make a difference. So use 15 or so grams for a 12-ounce bottle of beer. And what do you want to say?
If you have not seen our hot buttered rum video, I would say go watch that too, because this has
it's reminiscent
similarities. I think the hot buttered rum was actually sweeter. We didn't put that much sugar in this.
Yeah, if you like this sweeter, you can obviously add more sugar.
Right.
If you like any of the spices or don't like some of the spices, you can leave them out.
Now we used a brown ale. One of the recipes that we were looking at suggested to use
some
fireside chat, I believe it was what it was called.
We have notes. Yeah, fireside chat by 21st Amendment. We couldn't find that. And we couldn't even find tasting notes on it. So I don't know what it's supposed to taste like.
So you can use probably any ale of your choice. Yeah. I would avoid going the really, really hoppy route.
I would also avoid the really, really dark. The one I used was pretty dark, and that's about as far as I'd go. My brown ale recipe that we did in another video is probably about perfect, because it's not too dark, it's not too light, has some body and character, but it's not overly dark. Not to say that this is bad. This is actually wonderful. I will totally drink this.
Some of the flavored beers, particularly the chocolate coffee peanut butter combinations, I think would be really nice as a butter beer. I think the butter and the spices would go well with those flavors. So if you want to try that, go for it. Otherwise, make some butterbeer.
Make butterbeer.
And enjoy it. It's delicious. It's wonderful.
Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.